Hey guys, so we are in Florida, in Miami. I think I'm gonna start reading the book tonight. Everybody else is sleeping. But check out this freaking view. It's so pretty. We are gonna go to the beach. Well, I'm gonna make coffee. But then we're gonna go to the beach in a little while, and then later tonight, I'm gonna start reading A Million Ways to Die in the West. I'm pretty sure what I'm just gonna do is kind of update you as I go, as needed. I'm not gonna do it often, or maybe I will, I don't know. But I'm super excited. Hey guys, it's me. Back home now. I thought I was gonna have more time to read in Miami, but clearly I did not. But I am determined to fucking do this. I am determined. I'm on page 16. Nothing's really happened except Albert, our protagonist, was shot in the ankle, but not really. It like grazed him. Also, sorry about the no makeup and the glare on my glasses. But anyway, yeah, he legit just was grazed. The dialogue is funny, but I'm having trouble imagining what people look like because there's been barely any description at all about anyone, including Albert. The only thing I know about Albert is that he's a coward and he owes some guy a lot of sheep. So anyway, I'm gonna make myself some Cuban coffee and then I'm gonna power fucking through this. Okay, so I just read a couple more pages and now we have another character named Millie, and this one he actually described. We got a character description. Too bad it's not the protagonist. Also, as an aside, Seth MacFarlane needs work on his dirty talk. Page 24. So, he introduced 3 characters that I'm not even sure if they're gonna even be relevant, which pisses me off a little bit, but I'm hoping that they are gonna come back at some point. Also, Albert, our protagonist, his girlfriend just fucking broke up with him. Like, fucking cold, Louise. Cold. Kid was shot in the foot and is literally having to give up like all his sheep to this guy. And his girlfriend's like, I'm breaking up with you. I feel for Albert, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I just want to read a little bit of this to you guys just to kind of give you an idea of the writing. Just to give you context, Louise is Albert's girlfriend. Albert is our protagonist, and Louise is breaking up with him. I'm sorry. She gave him a loving look, but it was all wrong. It took him a moment to realize it wasn't love he was seeing, but rather sympathy. The look was one you might give a hospital patient before you told him the doctors were unable to save his balls. I feel like that would be a lot funnier if it was good. I don't know, like I really love Seth MacFarlane's writing, you know, in like movies and TV shows, but I'm not sure that that translates well to novel form. The dialogue is funny, but the dialogue tags are not the best. So the dialogue even suffers a little bit. I don't think he had an editor. Like, I really sincerely doubt that he had an editor, because you can so tell that this was a screenplay before it was a novel. This breakup is so damn cringe. Like, I actually feel for this kid, which is odd because I don't really know that much about him, except he's a sheep herder and he doesn't like to fight. Okay, so Albert's girlfriend has just broken up with him, and it's like right when something interesting, it looks like something interesting is going to happen in the scene, he switches scenes. Like, here's the sentence. This is page 27, by the way. And as Albert Stark sat among the long shadows that stripped the golden glaze of the dying afternoon, he knew his life was over. And you would think that, you know, maybe we would get some introspection, get some character development on Albert. Nope. Apparently this is the right time to switch scenes. Although it is Albert in the next scene, so maybe we'll get our introspection now. In a different scene, though. Albert lives with his parents. I fucking can't. Page 31. I just wanted to read this part to you guys. To the man in a secure relationship, love was a bountiful feast to be enjoyed by all in attendance. But to the man without a companion, the feast was watched bitterly from outside through a frosted window with the growl of a starving belly gurgling up from below. He has all of these moments that you can tell that this was a screenplay first, because there's barely any, like, we just met his parents and he named them, but he didn't give us any indication as to what either of them looked like. And all we know about them is that Elsie, that's his mom, was sewing, and George, his father, is reading the Bible. And they're sitting in chairs by the fire. But we don't know anything else about them. And then he adds like a little passage like that, because that's such a great way to describe the feeling of being single and the feeling of being in a relationship. Page 57. He was about to walk out with his groceries when he noticed a very pretty girl standing by the cookware examining a pot. Had he been clear-headed and unfettered by the pain of a broken heart, he would probably have felt the stirrings of arousal. But Louise's power had snuffed out any possibility of that. So, are we meant to believe that Albert a grown man, experiences arousal just from seeing a woman? That's actually an interesting question, because I guess arousal isn't specific enough to make it unrealistic. I mean, it is specific, but you can feel arousal in a number of ways, not necessarily physically. But that's interesting. I don't know. I thought it was really interesting that he chose to, MacFarlane chose to use that word specifically, arousal. But that's all he says on it. He doesn't elaborate beyond that. Okay, but we're on page 60, and I have yet to see an inciting incident anywhere. Unless Louise breaking up with Albert was the inciting incident. But I don't think so. Also, there are no chapters in this book. Like, what the fuck, Seth MacFarlane? Okay, still page 60, but I have an issue with one of these lines. There was young Betty Alden. Okay, so pretty much in this scene, actually it's not even a scene, but in this part of the narration, it's talking about how Albert has been trying to get back into the dating scene, but he hasn't had very much luck. So then he's describing the first young lady, I guess. There was young Betty Alden, the saloon keeper's daughter, who could outdrink any man, and who ended up vomiting in Albert's lap as they sat on the front porch of her home looking at the stars. Like, okay, funny, but if she can outdrink any man, why was she throwing up? It would have been much more believable that he was the one throwing up. Maybe he threw up on her, and that's why it didn't work out between them, because he threw up on her. But yeah, that I really want to know who the hell edited this novel, because why? So he goes on a few more dates. He goes on a date with a girl who I guess has an incisor growing from her left nostril. And then he goes out on a date with a Chinese woman named Yao Ling, who he offends by asking what her family does, which I thought that was a pretty ballsy thing to do, to include some representation of the Chinese in that time. And then he has a date with a 12-year-old girl, which again, I thought was something really interesting, because he points out the fact that people, or men, would marry young girls. Like, that was a thing back then. It was normal. I don't know. And then of course he tops it off each scene with something that is so offensive that it's like, it's funny, but it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just very Seth MacFarlane. It's very Seth MacFarlane humor. And the whole thing is done sort of in narration, sort of in dramatization. It's like a good mix. And it's very clear that in the film, this part was probably a montage, because that's kind of how it's written. It's written as a montage with some dramatization and some narration. It's actually done fairly well. I like it a lot, but you know what? Because we haven't really gotten very close to Albert, it sort of falls flat. I think something like this, like written as a montage, the way that that Seth MacFarlane chose to do it in this one section, I think was brilliant, and I think it would work really, really well if you have that foundation of having like a close third person. This is third person omniscient, so I guess close is not exactly possible, but I think third person, I think this story would have been better suited being told through Albert's perspective, because essentially it is, but it's omniscient in the sense that he is telling us how other characters feel, but he doesn't really need to. He could show that through their action, and he could give us a narration that's more of a close narration so that we feel really, really connected to Albert, which would make this montage scene very, very effective and work brilliantly. Because if you really think about it, I mean, if you can imagine it as a montage, then it's done its job, because it's making you, I mean, to me, that's what really good novels do. They kind of force you to think visually, not necessarily because you wouldn't otherwise think visually, but they just make it very easy to see what's going on in your mind. And that's what this section did for me. But in this case, I think it did it for me because I have looked up on IMDb who plays what character, so I know, like, I know who to imagine in my head. And a lot of the actors that were in the movie I love already. I just love their work. So my emotion is for them. My attachment is to them, not to the actual characters, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's a real shame. It's a real shame. Also, I think I already mentioned this, but this has no chapters. There's no chapters in this book. Like, what the fuck, MacFarlane? There's no chapters. There are scene breaks, if you would. There are section breaks. See, I'll give you... See how you can see, like, the... Right there. There's, like, a nice break. But there's no chapters. I think that chapters would have really done some good here. And I think having chapters would have allowed MacFarlane to... edit a little better, because it's almost like breaking up the first, second, and third act, right? So, I don't know. I think it's a damn shame. Whoever edited this novel for him, like, bro, they need to be fucking fired, because it's not good. There are some good things in here, but there's so much, oh my god, there's so much that I think could be better, and I think most people would feel could be better. Okay, so I wanted to read a little bit more before I did another commentary, but in this section, in this scene, it's Albert's mother's funeral. And first of all, there was no foreshadow that she would die. At least not in the novel, not that I saw. the mom, I wouldn't say that the mom was forgettable, but to my recollection, she didn't even have any lines of dialogue. If she did, it was one line of dialogue. And I don't believe that she did. There was no interaction between Elsie, Albert's mom, and Albert. The only interaction we saw was with his dad. And it was very, very brief. And he explains the way that she died, but I don't buy it. And beyond that, I'm not even going to touch on that, because that's not even the biggest, for me, that's not even the biggest issue. The biggest issue for me is that this was a missed opportunity. This would have been a really good place for us to really get to know Albert a lot more and get closer to him and feel a lot more emotion for him. And beyond that, I know that Seth MacFarlane himself lost his mom. I don't remember like what year it was, but it wasn't that long ago. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. It might have been longer. It might have been shorter. I don't know. I really don't know. But he did lose his mom. And it seems to me like maybe he wanted to include this because maybe he was feeling, he was feeling it at the time. Maybe it had just happened. I don't know. I'll research that. I'll fact check that, and I'll get back. Maybe when I do my review, I'll fact check all of that and kind of include it as a theory. Because it's more going to be like a discussion, not so much a review. But anyway, it seems to me like he wanted to include something with Albert and his mom because it was something that he was feeling with regard to his own mother's passing, but it was almost like he was afraid to go there, if that makes sense. Because this would have been, a really good place for us to really get closer to Albert and identify and relate to him even more and grow to care about him even more. And it was just kind of a missed. It was just kind of missed. Also, I'm a little perturbed that we're a third into the book, and I don't think the inciting incident has happened yet. So far, he's just kind of moping around. He's gone on some dates, but they've all gone shitty, and now his mom just died. I have a feeling that we're gonna meet, I think her name is Anna, soon, because she was already in one scene. I really wish that this book had chapters, because that one scene with Anna, well, she wasn't identified, but I have a feeling it's Anna, and that would be Charlize Theron's character. But that one scene was done fairly well, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Without the chapter breaks, it's just really, the scenes are a little awkward. Even this scene, because it's his mom's funeral, but the way he opened it, like he just said the funeral was, how did he write it? The funeral was a modest affair, though certainly average by the standards of the community. See, but the thing is, he says the funeral as if we know who the fuck died. Like, he didn't give us any indication that his mom was going to die. And obviously the character wouldn't know that his mom was going to be attacked by a cougar, which I don't know if I believe that. Like, I don't know if I buy that she was attacked by a cougar while she was going to fetch water. Like, I'm sorry, but if they live in the Old West and wild cougars are not uncommon in the Old West, then wouldn't she go outside with a gun? That just makes sense to me. And essentially that's how the father, her husband, scares the cougar away. He hears the ruckus and goes out and shoots a few rounds from his gun and scares the animal away, but by then it's too late. But wouldn't she have gone out with a gun if it's not uncommon for wild animals to be roaming around? I think there's a metaphor in there for the way that MacFarlane's mom died or passed away, and the way that Albert's mom passed away. It might be a stretch. I don't know. I think his mom, Seth MacFarlane's mother, passed from cancer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what kind of cancer, but I think it was cancer. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a really, I find it really sad. I thought it was a missed opportunity. A missed opportunity to again, you know, connect us more to Albert and show us more about, you know, who Albert is. Page 71, we just met Anna, and we only got a paragraph. 2, 3, 4. We got 4 sentences of her. And that's it. And then he switches scenes. There's no interaction between Albert and Anna. He just sees her in the church. And then he switches scenes. Let's see how long it is now before they finally interact. We had to wait until page 84 for Albert and Anna to interact. Page 115. And so this is a fake relationship trope, and with Albert and Anna, and I fucking love it. I love their interactions thus far. She's hiding something from him that we know as the readers. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I ship these two so hard right now. It's disgusting. Okay, so page 130. We're in a scene right now where Clinch, who is our antagonist, he has not showed up at Old Stump yet, so Albert has no idea that he's coming. And Anna's actually his wife, so yay. So we're in a scene where Clinch is robbing this Wells Fargo stage carriage, which I think is really funny. But he and his bandits are robbing this carriage, and he tells his one guy, he calls him by his name, first of all. He says, go ahead, Ben, like, find the box or whatever. So Ben goes and finds the box and then holds it up and goes, I got it, Clinch. Like, I'm sorry. I think professional outlaws would know not to use each other's names. But it's the Old West, so maybe it doesn't matter. But, like, there are sheriffs. I don't know. It just seems super weird to me that they would use their names. You know what I mean? Like their first names. But maybe I'm being a little too nitpicky. And then Clinch starts, like, literally talking about their plan in front of this group of people that they just robbed this carriage in front of. What? That seems awfully foolish to me. And for someone who is a professional outlaw, I don't know. Doesn't seem that professional to me. Okay. Huge faux pas. Page 140. He put song lyrics into the novel. Like, and I'm not gonna read them. Like, I don't care if they're funny as hell. I'm not gonna read them because I don't know what the song sounds like, A. And B, no. Oh my gosh, no. Why do writers put song lyrics into their novels? Don't put song lyrics into their novels. Most readers don't care for it. Page 172, and it is happening. Clinch has finally made it to Old Stump. The secret has come out that Anna is married to him, and now Albert is fucking pissed at her. I am curious to see how long he stays pissed at her and whether or not she has to actually work to get his forgiveness. Page 176. Do you guys ever read a story and something happens where you're like, what kind of idiot would fucking do that? That just happened. So, okay. Clinch has found out that Albert kissed Anna. Anna is his wife. Clinch's wife. And he's pissed. Durr. So he's looking for Albert because, you know, outlaw, and he's gonna kill him because, you know, Liam Neeson. So anyway, he's looking for him, and he gets to his cabin, and he's looking around. Albert has hidden himself in the flock of sheep, which, genius. But he left his freaking sack, his bag, like his bag packed with food and clothes, in the corner of the room. Like, bitch, you take that with you. Take it with you when you're hiding with the sheep. That way, when they leave, you can just go. You don't have to go back inside for fucking anything. You just go. Skedaddle. But no. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Really though. Really though. What's happening? Page 182. Okay, so Albert has just fled from Clinch and his gang. And MacFarlane wrote out the pursuit. It wasn't bad. It was about a page and a half worth of Albert running. The intensity was certainly there. The urgency was certainly there. I think maybe he could have slowed down just a little bit just to make it a little more intense. But overall, I think he did a really good job. Like, I really was wondering whether Albert would get away or not. There were a couple of things that seemed to be just kind of convenient. But it worked. It worked, and one of the things that was kind of convenient was that there was a train that was coming by, and of course Albert whizzed past it before the train, like seconds before the train, crossed the tracks, so the gang was forced to wait behind the train until it passed. But I think he could have foreshadowed that a little sooner. Just maybe having the train go by on a random day and he hears it from his cabin. Something that it wasn't so much of a, oh, let's just put a train there and it'll be so easy for him to get away, But other than that, I think he did a solid job. He did a solid job. Again, I was really wondering whether, I didn't think Albert would get away, and he did. So we'll see what happens next. Page 188. I just want to say that Edward's dialogue in this novel, like, I know Giovanni Ribisi plays him in the movie, and I can hear Giovanni Ribisi's voice, and I can literally see his face as he's saying these lines, and it's basically the best thing ever. Page 189, or no, page 190. Now Albert has been captured by a group of Apache, and somehow he speaks their language perfectly. This was not foreshadowed. He explains it, that he's a nerd and he reads a lot of books. What was he that he... How did he say it? Okay. I am a nerd asshole. Since the other white assholes do not like me, even though I am one of their own, I have always kept to myself. Therefore, I have read many books, know many languages, and am good at math. I would buy this if he had foreshadowed, if he had shown Albert reading a book, maybe reading a book about the Apache, or which, you know what, in those times, books about the Apache, I mean, were they really that reliable? Let's consider that for a moment. But like reading books, studying different things, doing math equations in his head, something to kind of give us an indication that, yes, this makes sense. He totally knows this language because he, is a guy who likes to learn and he likes to research and study things. So it makes total sense. But because that wasn't in there, it just kind of seems convenient to the plot that Albert speaks Apache perfectly. Page 202. So Albert takes some kind of hallucinogenic tonic with the Apache, and MacFarlane actually wrote out the trip. He didn't really get into much about what Albert was physically feeling, so it just kind of felt like a series of random scenes that kind of bled into the other. It didn't really have the impact that I think it could have. Yeah, it didn't really have the impact that I think it could have. I actually really want to see this movie now, because I want to see how... I mean, I can almost guarantee that it's exactly like the book, the dialogue and everything, because it was a movie before it was a novel, so I would imagine it's literally exactly the same. But yeah, I think it could have been done much better, and it wasn't done that well. It really wasn't done that well, at least in my opinion. Okay, so I just finished the book, and I think I'm actually going to do a separate video where we kind of, I don't know that it'll be necessarily a review, because I think I've pretty much reviewed the book as I've read it, like in real time, in this video, but I think it'll be more of a kind of a discussion. So look out for that video. There's a lot that I think Seth MacFarlane could have done better, and considering the fact that this kid has pretty much performed in every medium almost. He has a YouTube channel. I don't know if it's still up and running, but he at least used to have a YouTube channel where he put out cartoon content. He's a Grammy-nominated recording artist. His music is amazing. I have one of his CDs. I'm already planning on getting another one of his CDs. He's got a really amazing show, The Orville, which I love, and I cannot wait for season 3 because then I can start tweeting about it again. Yay! He's responsible for the highest grossing rated R comedy of all time. He is the creator of Family Guy, which is still to this day on and popular. My point is that he doesn't really half-ass anything. This novel, however, I think he did half-ass. And I know there's no chance in hell that he's watching this, but all I have to say to that is, you're better than that, MacFarlane. You're better than that. If I were him, I would at some point revisit this novel, go through it, edit again, get a professional editor, because I don't think a novel editor touched this book. If he had an editor, I have a feeling it might have been like a screenplay editor or somebody who specializes in I don't know. I really don't know who edited this. I mean, he did publish it through Ballantine Books. I don't know if maybe they gave him an editor to work with, but let me tell you something. It doesn't seem like it was touched by an editor. Not a novel editor anyway. Because he could have done so much better. Because there were things that he did really, really well. Things that he did really well. I'll talk about that. I think this video is long enough, so I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next video that I do. But there were things that, I mean, really worked. He did really well. But then there were things that he did not do so well. But yeah, overall, I think I would give the book, I think I'd give it a solid 3. And here's why. The dialogue was really, really good. The love story was done very well. The stakes could have been done better. It could have been done better. And you know what? I think the Clinch character could have been done better too. And the really cool thing about that character is that he's already got Liam Neeson in that role in the movie. So he has that blueprint to work with. I mean, and Liam Neeson has a very expressive face and extremely distinct facial features that really play well with a character like that. So, I mean, the potential is there. I really do see a lot of potential in this novel, and I hope that maybe one day he thinks to, to revisit it and maybe republish as like a second edition and do it better, because it could have been so much better. I mean, the potential is so there. I don't feel like I wasted my time with this novel. I really don't. I enjoyed my read, despite being a little frustrated with some of the things that MacFarlane chose to do or chose not to do, or didn't think to do. I'm not really sure. But I don't feel like I wasted my time. I don't feel pissed off that it wasn't as good as, a novel from an author who has published other books, would possibly be. I think it was a valiant effort, but I think considering the platform that he has and the reach that he has, he probably made a decent amount of money on the novel. Maybe not. But because of that, he should have taken more care in publishing this. I think he should have spent more time with it. And again, maybe someday he will. Maybe he'll think, let me revisit A Million Ways to Die in the West and try to do it better. Or maybe he'll write another novel and try to do it better. I sincerely hope so, because I do enjoy his writing style. There were moments where he painted such a beautiful picture of what was happening, and it was really done well. I mean, it sucked you right in. And then there were moments where he just kind of, it was like he was in a hurry to finish that chapter. And it's not even broken up into chapters, for Christ's sake. It's just broken up into sections, which But anyway, that's all I got for you today, kids. Thank you guys so much for watching. Click that like button if you liked this kind of reading vlog. Please hit the like button because that'll let me know to do more videos like this. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ding that little bell so that you get notifications every time I post a new video. I post every Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.